guys, this is Jenny. Welcome to another video, and this is a video I did just for me, just for my blog, just for documenting some of the gazillion cards that I've been making for the month of July, or really just the whole summer. Seems like everybody we know has a birthday. And I had kind of originally planned to have three very similar cards. It turned out a little bit differently, but I started with these Color Shine sheets that are from Heidi Swap. These are old things I've been sort of going through and cleaning up, and I decided to use both of those, so I spray them with Color Shine. Both of them I use two different colors of Color Shine on each sheet. They're 6x6s, and then I end up trimming them down, and I take the color beautifully, and then I think I go back and actually wash over them, wipe them down with a baby wipe to really pop out the white. Yeah, there we go. And it's such a fast thing. I mean, these are some of the things that are some of my favorite tools that I just don't use enough of. And it's kind of nice to remind myself that I have them. So anyway, let those dry a good bit, and then I take this very old stamp set that was actually my daughter had picked out a long time ago. It's by Fiskars, but it's got lots of different cupcakes and ice creams and different things like that on it. And so I decide I'm going to use some new Zig clean color brush pens that I got. So I'm going to heat emboss the outline of these, both the sentiment and the ice creams, in black. I believe it's just wow. Black embossing powder. I did get kind of a big smudge there on the E, which, I wish I kind of gone back and redone it, but anyway, I kind of wiped that off a bit. I did not use my embossing powder tool, and that's probably why I'm brushing off so much of the powder there. At any rate, I go ahead and emboss that, and then I heat it up. And when it's done, then I'm going to color it. And I kind of had this idea for all three of these cards. I was going to do one of the backs of the Color Shine pattern in the background, and then have a stamped or some sort of a sentiment on the front of each piece of those. And you'll see what I deviated from it a little bit, but mostly because I just got these clean color, this is so hard to say, the Zig clean color brush pens. And they really are amazing. I mean, I almost made them too dark because they take the water so well, and you really don't need that much of it, and it doesn't take too much to actually spread around and make a beautiful color. And they are so vivid, and to me, I mean, it was perfect for this. I realized there might not be an ice cream that's actually that color, but it was just so pretty and fun, and I kind of like the sprinkles being the black, so that it might be chocolate. So I'm going to go ahead and paint that, and then while that is drying, I believe I cut a mask out of just some Post-it tape, and I'm going to put it over each piece, or I'll do one and then I do the other, because I wanted to use Distress ink on the background. And I make two masks. I sort of had to piece one together because I messed up there. I don't have a whole sheet of that Post-it paper or whatever. I'm just have the big wide Post-it tape that I use. So and I'm not really big on this whole masking thing. I usually just trim out my images because this kind of seems like an extra step that I don't really need, but I did kind of want to do it this way just to really make the pink ice creams pop. So I use 2 or 3 different colors of like the greens and blues. It says Broken China. That may not be the truth. I believe it's Salty Ocean and Evergreen Bough, and maybe the new oh, it is Broken China. There you go. So I use, I think that is Salty Ocean, and the Broken China, I use those two. And basically distress the entire background, and then I end up using one of the Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle dies and die cut out the main piece of that. I had originally thought I would just really fade that out, and then I think I got carried away and I just ended up, it ended up being too much, and I just used it for, so there I had to go back and redo that a little tiny bit. It was a little bit too white there. So I ended up cutting it out, and it ends up being a little bit bigger than I had planned, but I thought that looked good with the circles in the background of that Color Shine Magic, Color Magic, that's what it was called, Color Magic pattern. And I had a whole pack of it, and I still have a bunch of them left, so like I said, it's one of those things that just gets buried, and if you don't, you know, it's so easy and quick, and it makes a great background, and it's interesting, and sometimes it takes going through everything to throw stuff out to realize how much fun stuff you have. So I put that smaller rectangle down and ran it through the Big Shot, and then I've got it out, and I decided to tie some twine around it. It's like a white that's got a teeny, it's like a copper thread that runs through it, and then I adhere that to the front of the Color Magic piece. I actually used a little tiny glue dot underneath the bow to keep it in place because it was kind of moving all over the place. So I adhere the whole thing down to the middle of the Color Magic piece, and that is that card done and finished once I glue it to the card base. And the card base is a it's Nina Cellar White cardstock, but it's the 80-pound, I believe, or the 65-pound. I've got a couple different ones, and one of them I use for card bases like that, where it's a nice bright white, but it doesn't necessarily have to be you don't have to be colored on. So with this one, I decided that I had this other Hero Art stamp that's doilies, and it's very similar, and I kind of thought about stamping it and using the zig markers on it, and then I thought it might be too busy, so I decided to kind of punt on that and go ahead and trim it down to my card size, and decided to do something a bit more simple. So I punch a circle out of this, it's not the Heidi Swap, I think it's a KI, it's an old KI Memories cardstock that's much heavier. A circle out of that, and then I punched a smaller circle that I had stamped on. This is a sentiment from Neat and Tangled. It says, "You are too kind," and I had planned on doing something else, like this one that says "Kindness Matters" or something like that, and I couldn't decide, and I think I ended up not using that, or maybe I was trying to figure out which one fit in a circle. I can't remember now. So I embossed that actually with the black embossing powder again, and again I forgot the embossing powder bag, which would have really helped, but I love those mixed fonts, and that those Neat and Tangled stamps are really, really good quality. So after that is dry, then I use see, I tried to do that again, and I just couldn't get it to come out and do the way I wanted to, so I end up just using the You Are So Kind. And I punch that out and adhere it to the other punched piece of glitter cardstock. You'll see in a minute. I heat those both up. I don't think it quite fit through my whole punch, or this big circle punch, and that's why it didn't look right. And this one did. Probably something I should have thought about before. I couldn't quite get it to fit. So anyway, I've got 3 circles of that I probably won't use, but I used the You Are So Kind. You'll see it there, and didn't use that marquee paper. I used the like I said, oh, I did. No, maybe I didn't. I thought it looked better on this. See, it's a much more subtle. It looks gray, but it's actually kind of a greeny color, but it looks really gray on video. But I just thought it was a nice contrast and not too matchy-matchy. So I ball up some pink American Crafts twine, or jute sort of twine, and I'm going to put those on pop dots. And after I adhere the circles to each other, I wrap the twine underneath it and just have it sort of messy on top underneath. and I really like the way it came out. I mean, this is one of those things that's be an easy card to replicate and an easy card to use all different sort of sentiments on, and something that I probably need to have lots in my running out of my stash of cards. So that's another reason that I've been trying to make a lot, just because the summer's been so hectic and crazy and busy, and I really, I went to go grab a birthday card or something for somebody, and I didn't have a lot. So something I should probably do is to, when I get a chance, sit around and make a bunch of cards. I sprayed that with it's an old glimmer mist I had that had brought out, and it was really clumpy, and it kind of clumped it up a bit. You can kind of see it, and I wasn't really happy with the way that did, and I realized it needed to be shaken up more, and I really needed to mist it from a much farther distance away. So the last card that I had planned on doing was going to be a lot similar to the other ones as far as the background, and then somehow I completely deviated from that and used these gorgeous bird stamps from Dina Wakley that I absolutely adore. I have a little thing for birds. So then I used this wood grain background stamp and a chalk ink from Colorbox. It's really nice, and on craft paper, and I love the way it turned out. I mean, it was real subtle. It was a pattern, but it was just a nice subtle something in the background. And then I decided to go ahead and color the bird with the Zig Clean Color brush pens, and I did use a little bit of my watercolors there too on the background part. But I love the way these came out with this. It was nice because they really flowed well, and it's amazing. These will be great to take somewhere where you just, you want something kind of watercolors, but I really don't like water pens or, water brushes. I guess I just grew up using something different, and I just can't make myself. I always end up glopping the water everywhere, and I can't use it properly. I think they're a great tool to have, and they're easy, transport, but I just couldn't, I just can't get used to that. So I'm more the traditional kind of brush person, and I just took a pen there underneath, a waterproof pen, and just drew a little line for the ground to kind of ground the bird, and colored a little bit of the gray paint underneath. And then I'm using some watercolor to just make a very, very pale wash behind the bird, sort of as the sky. And after I dab it off, it really is so pale you almost do not see it at all. This was going to be a thank you card, and so that's why I put that die out there. I was going to do it out of glitter, and then I didn't think that looked right, so I found this gold, I think it's Pebbles maybe, I can't remember. I've had it forever, and it's beautiful. It cuts like butter, but I didn't really like the way that looked either, so I go ahead and cut out I used that rectangular stitched rectangle die and cut out the bird and the background. And it was very close to the edge of the bird, but I really liked the way it came out because I loved seeing that wood in the background. I used a little tiny drop of enamel accent to color the bird's eye to make it really glossy, and it's amazing something like that makes it pop out so much. So I decided I needed some kind of other things, maybe some little wood veneers instead of sequins, or maybe sequins too. So I pull out all of these little tiny wood hearts and a couple little painted wood veneers from Pink Fresh Studio, and some matching sequins, and tried to figure out something, and I just could not get happy with it. And I just didn't want to take away from the bird, and it seemed really natural, and I just felt like I was messing it up. So after I get all these things laid out and think that's the way I'm going to do it, I end up just going with one tiny little heart in the corner. And I love the way it turned out, and I'm glad I didn't mess it up with a bunch of other things. That's me weighing it down. Still didn't like the thanks on there, so I just left it blank. And you can see the close-ups of all the cards here and the final products after each close-up. Thanks so much for watching. Come back by. I'm going to try to do more of these kinds of projects for especially cards, and more for my blog, papercardinal.blogspot.com. Thanks so much. Bye.